a small corner of a very large universe.
It's an enormous industry.
It is.
And it's always growing. Always
so,
growing. Right.
Ratings.
You go first, my friend.
Now, Ben and I are not going to agree on this front. Obviously, I'd say the claret takes number one for simple reasons. It just follows through, and I think Ben would agree with that. But what I'd do that's quite divisive, I'd put the de Grondel second. So I'm thinking it's a bit back-ended. So maybe it's a weak start, but the finish is just so strong because what you find that's so unusual with white wine is that it doesn't have the crisp finish. It doesn't have the sourness that you often get with a Chardonnay, not a Chardonnay.
Depends whether you're Liverpudlian.
Liverpudlians would say Chardonnay. And then finally, thirdly, I'd say this beautiful blend of French grapes, the Beaujolais. It was drinkable, it was nice. If you're having a dinner party, by all means buy it. But if you're going to have 1-2 bottles between you, if you don't go for the claret, you're a fool. Ben obviously has different opinions.
See, now, my personal opinion is obviously, I, like you, my dear comrade of wine extravaganza, the claret is my personal favourite. I mean, just for the sheer sophistication of its bouquet, in that it's balanced, it has elements of acidity, it has elements of terroir, it has elements of fruit, and that's what I look for in my wine. And that is a clear front runner for me. But then, going on from that, this is where we differ, I think. I, in my mind, would place the Beaujolais ahead of the Sauvignon Blanc, and that is because I find the Sauvignon Blanc just... It doesn't quite... It tries to be something like the Beaujolais in my mind. It tries to be a simple, easy-to-drink wine, but it just goes too far.
It goes too far?
It goes too far, in my
Frankly,
opinion.
I'm not going to swear on this channel, for it is a sacred platform. But if I could, by Jove, I would rip into you.
Well,
I would rip into you like no man's business.
I will rip you another hole.
And that is for a different video.
Right.
And then,
but
obviously, we simply can't agree.
We can't agree, but the Beaujolais for me, I find, is just better than the Sauvignon Blanc in that it doesn't pretend to masquerade as a sophisticated, balanced wine. It is just... It's what it is, and it's easy to drink, and I could drink a lot of it, and it wouldn't get tiresome. I feel the Sauvignon Blanc has such a sweetness that I feel if I keep it in my mouth for too long, it just makes me gasp. It's like having a very sour sweet, and I don't like that in the wine. I'm sorry. And I think none of this is a criticism on the Beaujolais, because I think Beaujolais, in its nature, is a very recently fermented wine.
It is. As
is reflected in the Beaujolais Nouveau culture, in that people... This used to be the case, I don't know whether it's the case anymore. There used to be such a thing as a Beaujolais day, when people would go, and when the Beaujolais grapes had just been picked, and they were just being pressed, people would drive to France from England, so they could get it as fresh as they possibly could, because unlike normal wine,
sums up, doesn't it?
Beaujolais doesn't need to be matured. Beaujolais is meant to be drunk as soon as the grapes are possibly picked. And I think that in its own is it's its own unique little flavour of wine.
Maybe that is part of its appeal. Very much, as you said, the young lover.
It is. It's enthusiastic, it's willing to try new things, but at the end of the day, it's not going to provide you with quite as much satisfaction for quite the same amount of time.
No.
As maybe something such as the claret, which is of course made up of Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, which are very traditional grapes.
I'd say a famous aphrodisiac.
I mean, even right now, drinking those certain grapes, I'm feeling a certain urge towards you, Harry. And I don't want to be too.
I haven't had enough to satisfy those urges, so we're gonna have to
drink a little bit more.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree,
and then we might have to turn the cameras off.
We might, and which means we can finally
have
our consumer advice.
Right, so
firstly,
this is about corking. Oh, antipasto. Oh, yes, different.
If you're drinking wine without eating antipasto,
then what the fuck are you doing?
What the fuck are you doing? Okay, secondly, moving on from that.
Moving on. This is something I find is very, very few people know about this. Very few people are experiencing this, but this is about the corking of wine.
The corking.
The corking of wine is when the wine has oxidised and it's gone bad at the end of the day. It's reacted with oxygen, oxygen's been allowed to let through the cork, and it's gone off. It will taste incredible. It will taste like paint stripper.
It will.
It will taste
But
and-
you don't need to worry about the taste, do you now?
No, exactly, and this is where this really comes in. When your server, your waiter, your
It's a
sommelier
sommelier.
will come and offer you your wine, and they offer you a little tipple in the bottom of your glass, most people will take that to mean they should taste it and give opinions on the wine. Really, genuine aficionados, what they will do instead is...
Men like us.
Because of course we are very aficionado-like.
Yeah.
They will take a small sniff of the wine, and from that sniff, you will know whether or not it's corked. That's all they're asking for. So you sniff it, you say whether or not you think it smells good, and then you ask for the rest. Because really, at the end of the day, if you drink some and say, I don't like the taste of it, there's very little that can be done. So they've already opened the bottle. It's not about what it tastes like, it's about whether or not it's gone off. So when they offer you the wine, just smell it. If you think it's nice, ask for more, then you drink it. Don't taste it.
Our second piece of consumer advice, it sounds obvious, but there must be 1 or 2 viewers who just simply don't know this. There is a flat tax on wines. Whether you're paying 10 grand or £2.50. There will be the same amount of tax.
And that tax is about £1.75.
£1.75.
Correct.
And therefore, if we think theoretically, if you're drinking a 10,000 pound,
Exactly, the more you're spending on the wine,
you're
the
spending
more you get for your
£990
money.
on wine.
So really, I'd say there is a baseline on this.
Mm.
If you're spending below £5, maybe, if you're spending below £5, you're getting predominantly tax.
You're
paying...
funding Theresa May's government as
Exactly.
opposed to funding your own drinking.
Exactly.
It's
Which
it's
is an issue for me.
crazy.
It's an issue for me.
Which is why we adopted the policy of none of these bottles were
less than £10.
less than £10, I think.
Yeah. Other than the
Because-
half bottle, but if that were a full bottle, it would be.
Oh, if we were to extrapolate the price, obviously that'd be
of course,
completely ultra virus.
Exactly.
What would our other consumer piece of advice be? We know a lot. We're condensing it into three pieces of advice.
Which is why it's difficult to condense our knowledge, because our knowledge is so incredibly.
It's so universal.
Unlimited.
I'd say, yeah. Do we have any more advice? We actually don't.
We do. It's just so difficult
Okay,
to
our
find
final
all
piece
that.
of advice is obviously all of these bottles aren't really vintages. That was a
No, that was a
choice.
purposeful choice.
But where
this was
it's
just a tasting.
Were it to be a vintage of
It's just like decanting.
2015 or before,
Then
maybe.
this is a general rule here.
Yeah.
The older the wine, the longer you should let it oxidise to balance out the tannins. Because as a wine ages from the time the grapes are picked, it becomes more acidic, more tannic, and that's not an issue with the wine. You just need to leave it longer to oxidise and then become
sort of
mild
equals out.
to
It balances
equilibrize.
out. So
And
if it were a 1990 Pinot Noir.
I mean, my general rule is 10 minutes for every year of the vintage. So if it were
That's very
a
wrong.
5-year-old vintage, if we were talking 2013, 2012 kind of time, I would say you should let it 40 to 50 minutes of aging.
If it's a proper wine.
If it's even older than that, what you should do is decant it into a decanter and maybe even filter it to get rid of some of the debris at the bottom
There
of
is
the
a huge amount of debris in an older wine.
And that is the reason that you have on these glasses a puck. We'll talk about that in a minute.
That'll
So
come
we'll
on
talk
the
about that in a
7-minute
minute.
video, maybe.
No, I will talk about that after that. We'll just
It
briefly
will.
discuss it.
I feel
Right,
that this
so-
video is becoming incredibly long.
But
I'm sorry, our knowledge is very
we
difficult to
have
distill.
so much to say. So much to say.
But yes, I say the older the wine, the longer you should let it distill it. And if it's particularly old, more than maybe 10 years, you should decant it and leave it to oxidise so that it comes to... Firstly, it helps it come to room temperature.
It does.
And secondly, it just helps it become... It helps the equilibrium of the wine.
Yeah.
And now talking about the puck. So
The puck.
we often get on a wine...
This will be our final
We
point.
often get on a wine, of course.
Of course.
What you often get on wine is a little indent on the bottom of the bottle, and the real reason for that indent is it means that it collects the debris at the bottom of old mature wine, which will be a kind of like little speck. They look like little specks of dust sometimes, and that you don't want to drink, and that should be filtered out. But that little puck is there to stop that coming into the normal drinking. But the problem is, wine companies, and I think I'm right in saying this, have caught on to that, and so often they will use it as a marketing technique. So they will do an incredibly big puck in order to make you think the wine is better, whereas really you shouldn't rely on the puck to
For
choose the
example,
quality of the
look
wine.
at this. Look at this claret. A classic marketing technique. It's got a good 2 inches of puck. But I mean, if you look at the dregs, obviously you can't because the camera quality is pretty shit. But there's no deposits.
It's
So-
simply there because it's a very fresh wine.
It's not a vintage.
The thing is, it's there just to sell it to you. It's not there for a practical reason. You shouldn't use it to assess the quality of a wine.
So-
That's our last point.
Yeah, our last point would be: don't be fooled. Okay, wine is an emotional journey. Okay?
Wine cannot be judged on a bottle. It cannot be judged on a label. It cannot be judged in words.
It can't
It
even
can
be judged on
only
the
be
year.
judged in experience.
It can. So
It's
I
like a
really
sexual
are.
experience.
Our final point would be that you just got to drink as much wine as you can, really.
And even if
the
you can't
more-
get wine, just as much alcohol.
As
Just
much
drink.
alcohol as you
Just
can.
drink.
Just drink.
And this leads us to what I think is our joint motto.
It's a sort of manifesto.
And that
I
is
find.
Infirmentum credimus.
Infirmentum
And that means to
credimus.
those of you who have had very little education and feel not go very far in life,
Are they even watching this video? If that's the
if
case?
they are, then you should probably turn it off
Mm.
now. But for your benefit, that means in yeast we trust. Because obviously yeast provides fermenting qualities which
if it's
creates alcohol.
if it's not made with yeast, it's
Then
not
you can
worth
fuck
it.
off, mate.
You can
And
fuck
if it's
off.
cider, bugger you.
That's true. Right. Well, our final note would probably be fuck you. So I hope
If you're a cider drinker.
I
not
hope
anything
you've
else.
enjoyed this. I hope it's been worth our time and it's been worth yours. And
Hopefully we'll get another one out there soon. Or maybe champagne we were thinking of as a possible next
oh,
frontier.
the
to
champagne
push.
tasting video, that'll come in the next couple of weeks' time. So if you want to be involved, just give a shout. Anyway,
Well, thank you for watching.
and have a great evening. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as
As
we
have enjoyed your
obviously
company.
have enjoyed the wine. Good night and farewell.
I know it's my least favourite, but it does still have something about it.
It's still got something, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why I think you're wrong.
Well, I think you're wrong, but we'll work on that later.
Will you agree to disagree?
Anyway, I think you should end the video now. Have a good one.
How long was that video?
Must have been hard.